Like it was one of those moments where he's like reinventing the printing press and had like a bunch of big ideas that he wanted to get out.
But he's doing more than enough.
Exactly.
Just having that podcast channel is enough.
Yes. Like it was one of those moments where he's like reinventing the printing press. True.
Okay, so that's working. I'm gonna hide this here.
Description in here.
And then
bingo. Hope everyone's having a great day out in YouTube land.
Because I'm alive.
Yeah. I'm gonna mute mine as well. Share this baby.
Is that almost ready?
Copy that.
Oh wait, what happened to Miranda? Is she ever coming back?
Oh yeah.
Let's
get her on the show again.
There's someone else. Oh, they were coming to mind. Bennett.
Nice, Bennett Tanton, if you will.
We should reach it. There was another person. Oh, and Jim Gaither. We got to reach out to Jim Gaither.
Oh, there we go.
Ed loves putting Southern Comfort in my Diet Pepsi. It's not really a good combo, but
it'll get you where you want to go.
Ooh. There's nothing worse than vodka and Diet Mountain Dew.
That sounds like a man with experience.
Yeah, I accidentally made that mistake about 40 years ago.
I think you're about to say about 40 times.
I might have been about 40 times. Even though I vowed never to do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone who's watching early, well, this will be on the recording too, so you're getting to see the pregame show, the locker room, inside the locker room talk. Okay.
All right, we're here.
Is Ed ready to?
We're there. We're everywhere.
Is Ed ready to start the recording? Yes. Okay.
So Krista can turn off her camera for now.
Yep. Okay, Edward. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. I thought you were doing your deep breath.
I'm waiting for you.
Oh. Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
That's right.
I'm Daryl.
I'm Ed.
And we are broadcasting live from middle school studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Man, it is a beautiful day outside. We just had a little walk around the neighborhood, which was nice. Man, I got to clean these glasses, but I guess they'll work for now. We have a great show today. Today's show is called Move Over and Let God Take Over. Move Over and Let God Take Over with artist Krista Machovina. Thank God for Krista Machovina. We were at her art show, Open Studios, last week, and it was amazing. We love that place, Keystone Art Space.
Yeah, we went there right after last week's episode.
Actually, right after Philippe's as well.
And who?
A giant feast.
And who was our guest? Spikes, right?
Jeff Spikes.
Yeah.
All right. So, move over and let God take over. Why should we try to move mountains with our own strength alone when faith, even as a grain of mustard seed, can help us achieve what seemed impossible? God is defined precisely and simply in the Bible by the following verse: God is love. Faith in God is faith in love. Therefore, it gives us something to do in order to join forces with God and strengthen our faith. Focus on expressing love. Mike Dugan would often affirm, while I am doing God's business, God is taking care of my business. Regardless of what our circumstances are, when we make it our intention to be an expression of God's love, wherever we are, our circumstances improve and miracles occur every time. And during the second segment, artist Krista, the love machine Machovina, gets us giving it up for success with today's reading, Go and Meet Your Good.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think, whoa.
Whoa.
Gidget just sneezed.
She loved it. Isn't that laughter you told me?
That is laughter.
The laughter of dog. The
Yes.
laughter of the dog.
Yes, when dogs make if they keep making that sneezing sound.
They're laughing their heinies off.
So, are we going to kick it off with a special 3 breaths?
That kind of tells you that you're in the zone where you've officially moved over.
Or if you're not in
let God take over.
Or if you're not in the zone, these 3 breaths will definitely get you in the zone.
Right, because you want to go to the place of feeling as if it's already so. And if you go to that place of feeling up front, then it helps you get into that zone. That's what affirmation is all about. You're not making things happen. You're just getting in line with what is already available and already there for you, what is already true. Actually, that kind of saved my mind this morning when I was doing my morning routine, when I realized, had the reality in my mind that all this stuff is already true about me. All this good is already true, and that's why we can move over and let God take over.
Can we get a little microphone for Gidget?
Yeah. If you want to see Gidget's smiling face and you're on the audio app, you can go to YouTube and see her right now, letting us know she loves it. She's so sweet. So, there is a YouTube channel, Funniest Thing with Daryl and Ed. And if you just heard me talk, there's also anywhere you can get podcasts, you can get our audio version, which is where it all began. So let's take it. This is by, who is this by?
Blue Suede.
Blue Suede.
Blue Suede made this affirmation a hit in the 70s.
So along with Gidget, we also have Sue Hodgson, Barbara Weatherman out there watching. Well, thank you all for joining us. Let's take a deep breath to clear our mind. I'm alive. I'm doing my thing and singing my song. I'm alive.
Okay. Okay, I got it. For some reason, I want to do this one, and then we'll go back to the other one. Okay. I'm alive. Who cares if my hair is a little too long? I'm alive.
I'm alive. I'm doing my thing and singing my song. I'm alive.
A little clunky on my part, but we got through
great,
it.
Man. I love that. I was thinking about those lyrics. I thought that originally that's what we were going to do.
No, I liked that last one, but it was fun to throw in. Who cares if my hair is a little bit long?
I know. Especially for you, that must feel great to sing that affirmation.
Because there's none there.
Yeah. Let's take a moment. Let's thank the Patreon contributors who really, really make this show help the show happen by contributing, and also contribute to their own prosperity in the process, because we contribute to things that inspire us.
Also, if you're watching and please hit the subscribe button. If anything, just to help people more like yourself and Ed and myself and our guests discover our show, who may not be aware of it.
Mm-hmm. And like the video as well.
Yeah, and on Patreon, every Tuesday, if you're a Patreon member, and even just if you want to just get us a cup of coffee worth of donation a month, which is nothing, but it's surely a big deal to Daryl and Ed, because even though it looks like we're having a lot of fun, a lot goes into producing this show. And don't get me wrong, we love doing it. But we sure do appreciate your support, so thank you very much.
If you're not on board, you could go to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/funniest thing, and get on board. Then you can join us on the Tuesdays. And Lynn Beach let us know that she was talking about this week's Patreon call, and she said, thank you so much for your insights. I could hear and feel the powerful energy as you shared the transcendent treatment, which you said you were going to share again.
Ooh, we could read that on today's episode.
Yes, and we got last week we had talked about something with a song, but we'll talk about that later. But for smiling Michelle Marie said, love the synchronicity miracle of Joe Hooper meeting Nancy Norman and then you and Daryl because of that. She loved the do you believe in magic singing, your wisdom saying a little opening in our consciousness and God flows through it. And that's kind of what this show is about today too. And congrats to Daryl being in the art show. The way the whole art show came about is amazing.
Yeah.
And then his pieces in it are mirroring that message outright. Wow, in the flow and flowing. Please send Daryl my love and congrats. Well, thank you. We definitely appreciate
Yes.
that. And
Wait, isn't she friends with Kayla?
oh, she is?
I think so.
yeah.
Weren't those the two that knew each other and came down to hear us at Unity Village?
I'm guessing you're right if that's the way you remember
I think so.
it.
I could be wrong though. But
If you want to send us anything, you can send us P.O. Box. Funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California 90232. Do you have any of the cookies?
I got a whole bunch of mail today. Well, you're
Okay.
reading that. I'm going to go get them.
All right. Yeah, so we got a bunch of mail there. Anyway, so today's show is called Move Over and Let God Take Over. So I did my Saturday routine and took a few notes, little reflections to get my mind on board with the show. So as I thought about it, moving over and letting God take over is really saying, stop believing the lies that fear would have us believe and choose to feel good so that we can experience reality, who we really are. So we're moving over and letting God take over. It's really so that we can remember who we really are. Because the subconscious mind is tricky because what it says is literally what we believe or have believed in the past. So when that subconscious mind activates, it's a belief system that will take over. And that is why all of us have times where we all we can muster is the faith the size of a mustard seed. Because when those old beliefs get active, I don't care who you are, beliefs are a major part of determining how we experience our reality. They affect it.
But we got to let people know that a belief is just a pin mommy put on your lapel.
That's what Wayne Dyer said.
I liked how Jeff said last week that we're born limitless and we're taught limitation.
That's right.
And we learned to be fearful.
Yes.
So, and beliefs are the best definition of a belief. The secular definition is it's a thought that we've repeatedly thought over and over until we become convinced that that thought is the absolute truth. But it's just a thought.
But I'll tell you what's crazy about it, that makes it crazier than even that, is that what Reverend Ike said is it's not just the thought, it's the personality of the person that you got the thought from. It's like they're standing in there saying it, so because it affects our hormones, our neurotransmitters, and so much of our body's responding to those beliefs. But thankfully, because that could be that can either feel like a very daunting task, or this is why this science of mind type metaphysics and practical Christianity is so powerful, because we don't have to go through thousands of hours of therapy. We just keep it simple. Is that feeling love or is it fear? Does it feel good or does it feel bad? So we can make new choices that allow us to quickly reconnect to who we really are, because we are never what fear would have us believe. It is false. This is what they say, false evidence appearing real. I was thinking about that this morning. Gerald had an example of it too. And I said, and I just love, this is what I'm studying and practicing, and you have to be persistent in your practice. Love is the only accurate perspective. Love is the only accurate perspective. So I was thinking, if fear is false evidence appearing real, what is love?
True.
And I said, yes, but I was thinking of an acronym.
Oh, good.
Life only values everyone. So if there's a part of me that's judgmental, everyone and or everything. So if my perspective is not one of love and joy towards everyone and everything, then I'm probably not fully in the loop with love. And this is where every one of us, no matter what our belief system was that was handed to us, has room to grow, I believe, which is, if we're really going to apply this, then regardless, win or lose, political party, all this stuff that's coming up now, it doesn't matter. Love, by principle, life only values everyone. Love always values and loves everyone, because everyone is created by this same God, this one principle, which is love, which is goodness. So, the reason I thought about that is because we said God is love. Faith in God is faith in love.
Yes.
And then the simple solution is focus on expressing love. And this is what overrides and transforms all of what most psychology has to offer. You don't need to dig through everything. as you can find a way to focus on being an expression of love, what happens is all the old crap gets cleared and cleansed, and the moment you remember who you really are, all of it evaporates very, very quickly.
Well, yeah, and your circumstances will correspond,
Yes.
regardless what they are. If you wherever you're
Yes.
switching to,
Yes,
they'll correspond.
that's right.
But it goes along with this, because what we're talking about is letting go and letting God take over. And this is an old anonymous writing I found, and it says, "Let go, let God," is the slogan of this. You know, we've all heard that slogan.
Yes.
I like
Yep.
the rest of the slogan because what it's really saying, Mary Kupferle puts it one way, another person added something else to make it clear, and the second person, and I forgot who it was who made it clear. It's in one of our very old spiritual readers from the early part of last century, says, "Let go and let God do it." That's
Yeah.
what it means. Or
Yep.
Mary Kupferle, "I let go and let God go to work in my affairs."
Yes.
So releasing, it's all about releasing these ideas that are terrifying in any situation,
Yeah.
especially stuff that comes out of left field like a car, unexpected car issue like we had, or the veterinarian with the cat, which I just knew my only way to get through this is, instead of me thinking I had to think rightly about it, just the best way to think is imagine that God is working on it, that God's doing the work, not me. And I could just believe and get into that. God is really making this work out. I don't know how.
Yeah.
And, you know, the vet and the specialist are still scratching their heads positively about how it's even possible that Eleanor, our cat, had the blockage showing up. All her blood said, "Oh, this is probably cancer."
Right.
And then within a week, while we were affirming this stuff, no sign of any of that when she went back. They can't believe it.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because you just did this too. It's like, and I like when we had a guest recently, and he was talking about how when we're in the midst of problems, we got to realize like we're holding on to them, and then that's what we wanted to say, because he went on to say you got to grab onto something else.
No.
But I was thinking about Daryl's story about the guy who told him, like, he went through his life living with his fists out, and the way to live
It's arms
with his
out,
arms
huh?
open, right? And so
Yeah.
the way to take hold of God and let God take over is to totally let go
Yes.
and let God flow, because it's a takeover. I mean, you feel that the energy. It's like letting an energy, which turns out to be your true self, which actually is the only reality. It's letting go and letting God flow through us, and it's a big deal because you come alive, just like we were singing. You feel good. You feel different. You see everything different. Things that were once a problem don't even exist in our reality anymore because our interest is not even involved in that. We're on to bigger and better things that are just whatever it is. It could be just going to the coffee shop or driving down the road. We see the glory of God in everything we see and do. It doesn't matter big or there is no more big or small, because whatever we do, we're bringing that love and letting it flow through us.
Well, and the best part is it gives me something to do, meaning
Yeah.
I'm not going to this car dealership with me
Yes.
in my mind thinking, are they going to be able to figure out at a deficit, thinking in a
Right.
deficient manner, which is fear, worry, doubt. That's all in the same heading.
Yeah.
And that's also me trying to outline it with my limited perspective. And it's also the fear of I don't want to be taken advantage
Yeah.
of. I'm not trusting in anything.
Yeah,
Nothing
that's
positive.
a major difference in what we're talking about here and the way of living this is when we let go.
Yeah.
We're not clinching on to something new, because the whole idea of it's the same energy. Now you're just clinching on to something new, but letting go makes us a beacon of light to everyone and everything around us, which makes us attractive to a whole different set of circumstances. which is really heaven on earth is what we find.
Right. And the thing that it gives me to do is I'm just here to express love. So if I just go into this situation and switch off that, it doesn't matter. This is like, I'm just here to meet friends, even though it's no, we can't, because they might, stick it to you. I can't do that anymore. And I had a great time with the people at the dealership. Funniest thing, the car got repaired.
Mm-hmm.
It cost money to be repaired, but all things cost. And here's the other thing. So many unexpected large things occurred in this last month, seemingly out of the blue and seemingly negative. But there's a great, I still want to read this, let go, but this is, you're going into someplace another new direction that's positive. There's a great reading that I hang on to in Emmett Fox. And it talks about when things start seeming to go wrong, but you're applying this stuff on a regular basis, like, I might as well just give up. This isn't working.
Yes.
But this is good, because he's saying that when you start this, and he's referring to a 7-day mental diet, where we start really not allowing ourselves to dwell on any fearful old beliefs that make us feel bad, limiting, doubtful ideas. And we only tune into thoughts that are on the affirmative, which is joining forces with God. And we know what those are. They're love, joy, generosity,
right,
acceptance, right?
Yeah, they feel good,
etc. So he says, when you start doing this, or there's different points where you've been doing it, or in my case, I think because I started learning new things and getting excited about it and making my book, this book that just got released on Election Day, Step Out Boldly, excuse me, The Hidden Meaning of the Statue of Liberty, which is on Amazon now. I started feeling really good, and then all these seemingly negative things started happening, and here we go. When that happens, it seems as though everything begins to go wrong at once, which it did. This may be disconcerting, but it is really a good sign. Suppose your whole world seems to rock on its foundations. Hold on steadily, let it rock, and when the rocking is over, the picture will have resembled itself into something much nearer to your heart's desire. So hang in there, because when you start thinking in a new way where you're not constantly giving in to these thoughts, fears, doubts, worries that are just and avoiding moving forward, things are going to change.
Yep.
And it's going to seem rocky, but it's great. It means everything is shaking up and you're going to be at a new elevated level.
Yes.
Here's the let go, let God, which goes perfect with the show, because this is exactly what we're talking about. I release limiting perspectives and allow my good to unfold. At times, I have clung to ways of being that kept me stuck in place mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Some of us physically, too. Ready for a new direction in my life, I pause to open my heart and mind to a storehouse of unlimited possibilities. Turning to the presence of God within, I choose to surrender my limited perspectives and become willing to take on a new and higher perspective. When I tap into my spiritual nature, life takes on a sense of adventure. And that's what these things can be, even if they seem negative. Once I say, okay, I'm just going to switch to love, know that God is doing his work, and now I got to do God's business, which is I'm going to make the decision, just do the next bit of footwork, whatever it is, but as a love expresser in that situation. Following divine inspiration, I'm able to move forward on my life's journey, viewing life in positive ways with an attitude of empowerment. I expect my greatest good to unfold. No matter what may arise in my life, I am grateful knowing that God is blessing me in magnificent ways. Cast your burden on the Lord and he will sustain you. And that's Psalm 55, verse 20 too. And another way, I also tell myself too, when I'm in these predicaments that don't seem like it's the best thing that I would like happen, I go, this doesn't look good, but I know there's good in it. And I just do this silently. I mean, I do it within myself, and my brain will click over. And once it clicks, I get enthusiastic about the little bits of footwork that now are necessary in order to continue to move upward and outward.
Yes. Yes. And I want to just keep pointing this out. So these things happen, things are going to happen, and the tricky part's going to happen when your subconscious mind starts reacting to it. It's easy to say, why do I keep doing that? But the thing is, that's what our subconscious mind does. It does what it's always done. It's done the stories. Daryl's talking about, inputting something new with your conscious voice. The conscious voice is the part of me that's talking to you right now. What we have to realize is we don't have to sit around and hope our subconscious mind gets on board. And then what we got to do is, with our conscious mind, affirm that it's principle, that God is only good. I can't wait to see what good comes from this. And this voice, the subconscious voice that's full of worry and stuff, it's not going to immediately believe you, but it has to follow you. It has to follow the conscious mind. That's why we have to be persistent. We have to stay with it. We don't have to be aggressive. We just got to be persistent. It could be a silent, like Daryl said, a silent prayer. I wonder what good is going to come from this. It could be when I just softly tell myself, there's only good. I wonder what good's going to come from this. If I could just muster up the faith of a mustard seed to say that, even when my own subconscious mind is saying a lot of opposite things, our good is guaranteed. And that what you're talking about is listen. This is what Joyce Kramer said on today's. She had a reading. We get her email every day at joycekramerministries.com. We talked about her with Sammy Smith recently. We often read from her. But her word for today was persistence. Persistence. Through the power of God within me, I persist in doing those things that are mine to do. And she talks about how many projects have you started and not finished?
We got time.
How many ideas have you had of things you would like to do that you have not acted upon as yet? What is it that you are going to do someday? To succeed, we must have the quality of persistence or stick-to-itiveness, wherein we not only conceive our good, but unswervingly and courageously keep on toward it. We should practice overcoming tendencies to be wishy-washy by keeping at what we start and by doing things we think we should do now. Listen to the still small voice within you, urging you onward, and move with it. See, this is why there's like a subtle difference between just willfully pushing through and this method. Because if you get aggressive, it's really, you're just like trying to fight against your own fears and doubts and worries, and that just has a boomerang effect. But if in those moments where all that doubt is tempting us to turn back or give up our hope, this is what she says: listen to the still small voice within you, urging you onward, and move with it. If you get silent and just listen, you will hear an inspired voice. Refuse to pay attention to obstacles, but persistently move toward your goals.
Yes.
Eliminate from your vocabulary negative words such as impossible, hopeless, or difficult. Keep at the job with tenacity, and you will break through all the barriers. And better than that, all the barriers will dissolve around you. Yes. And you will let go of the biggest barriers, which are the subconscious belief that you're not good enough, or that the world is against you, or anything like that. What do you got?
Well, Emmett Fox touches this on this too in a very positive way, because we're not talking about making things happen.
Yeah.
We're talking about or manipulating or networking.
Yeah, because I got to be honest, like you've talked about a lot, I've never liked the word persistence. And now I'm redefining what is persistent
redefine
mean.
It.
Yeah.
So Emmett Fox in today's reading, if you have Around the Year in Emmett Fox, says some dirty words. One of them is hard work. Oh, yeah. And Mike Dugan used to say, no, I don't do work. I hate work. It's a 4-letter word and ends in K. And here, Emmett Fox makes it clear the difference of what we're talking about with this healthier view of persistence, instead of the old idea of it being hard work, doing something I'm not enjoying, but I got to do it in order to get somewhere.
Right.
We're saying if you do some certain things the way we describe over and over on the show, you can enjoy the work, which I prefer to call, instead of hard work, just the footwork.
Yeah.
What's the footwork?
Right.
Not the hard work. But Emmett Fox says the most important thing about this is there's two things that are necessary for anything to be successful. And it's like Ed was talking on when we got to listen, and Joyce Kramer. The two things, like she just shared and Ed read and touched upon, is one, inspiration. He goes on to say, sheer hard work, blind plodding, or brutal hammering will not bring success. You must also have regular inspiration, meaning don't move forward without getting yourself into a place where you could feel the inspiration to do the next indicated thing. And he also says, the other one he calls perspiration, there is no success without persevering, doing the footwork in the direction of your goal. And he added in his own thought for himself, work hard, but do not make hard work of it.
Yeah.
And I always have to remind myself, as soon as the joy start, like in my day when I'm doing footwork, like even doing the book that just got published, and it got done in a remarkably short amount of time, considering everything I had to learn to do it, which didn't seem like a lot and went relatively quickly because I would only work when I was inspired. As soon as I started getting hungry or I felt myself pushing in any way or starting to become self-critical or self-condemning in the process, I said, time to stop.
Right.
And I made myself stop. And then it helped. That got my subconscious excited to do more the next day. It looked forward to the next thing we were going to do. But even more important, it gave my subconscious mind something to do between the time I ended and the time I started again, which was without me consciously having to work out bugs or deciding what the next illustration was going to look like, it did it for me. So by the next day, I would go, holy cow, that came together. Like, how did I just do this?
Right. That's
the key. And joy is the strength of the Lord. That's what Emmett Fox is saying. Work hard, but don't make hard work of it. It sounds like the antithesis of achieving goals, only because that's an old belief that we were told that we have to work hard. Otherwise it's not legitimate. You don't deserve, it's not good enough. You won't be rewarded unless you struggle. There's got to be struggle involved.
It's the virtue of suffering. Because that's the word that gets snuck in there.
Yes.
Like the suffering part, suffering for it. And that doesn't have to be the case.
At all. Matter of fact, most of the most successful people, they enjoyed the process of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Every day it was like a fun game. Edison was not frustrated every day he was working on the light bulb. Right. And then, like, if he was, he would have never went on to create the motion picture camera and so many other things.
Right.
If he was doing this in the way that most of us have been taught, and unfortunately, most of us were taught this by well-intended teachers, I guess. Thank God he dropped out. I don't even think he had more than an elementary school education.
Right.
But we're just saying, take the struggle out, which is moving over. That's letting go of the struggle, and let God take over. Allow yourself to know that when I just let go, I've done all I can do today, or I'm starting to feel upset about this. That means that's the indication to stop. Not to push through.
That's right. It's funny. I looked up, the AI tells me that the word work has multiple origins, including Indo-European, the word work comes from the Indo-European root werg, which means doing or making. That's not hard.
That's not bad.
The Greek word ergon means deed or action and is related to the word work. The Greek root ergon is also present in other English words such as energy, ergonomics, synergy.
Yeah.
And then Latin word urger means to press, bear down upon, or compel, and is related to the word work. So when we're doing the things that we're inspired and compelled to do, that's the best way to do it. That's when we know we're doing God's work. That's what we're letting, because there's something about when you're letting your own creativity come through what you do. That is mysticism. That is amazing. That is powerful. That is exciting. And last thing I'll read is from Putting the Prosperity Idea to Work by Robert A. Russell, one of the last books that Nancy Norman recommended to us. It says, Webster defines zeal as ardor in pursuing anything, eagerness as for a cause, ardent and active interest, enthusiasm, fervor. We all know, like, when we're really interested in things, it's like we can't even, we have to stop ourselves from doing too much, like Daryl's been talking about lately. If you study the people who call themselves failures, you will find that they have one thing in common: apathy. They have allowed the enthusiasm, fervor, and zeal to go out of their lives. They have lost the quality that makes them useful, effective, and successful, and life has begun to eliminate them. That's a little dark, but here he says, enthusiasm more nearly expresses the nature of activity of God than any other word. If a man has it, he is positive in his attitude. If he doesn't have it, he's negative. Isn't that true? If we're not enthusiastic about what we're doing, that means we're probably doing it because someone else told us to,
we think
or we
ought
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? The universe is alive, vibrant, pulsating, abounding, joyous, and advancing. Do you get the feeling of that? The word enthusiasm comes from two Greek words, en and theos, that mean in God. It is that something in a man's nature which makes him attractive, dynamic, and effective.
Attractive.
Yes.
When we're enthusiastic, people are attracted to us.
That's right, because it is the divine spark that we share with God.
Are you going to pick a postcard and thank Comfort?
Yes, let's pick a postcard.
We got many postcards here. Be careful. You might want to just do a quick peek because some of these came loaded. These are from Kirk in Germany.
This is perfect right here.
Okay, good.
This is it's a picture that says,
some of these came loaded.
I know, I received a clonk to the head and I was an idiot no longer.
Well, I believe that's
what
true.
happens, man. We get hit on the head by God. The love flows through. The inner life of a man is the most priceless possession. In the center of our beings, we decide whether we shall be worthy of the divine life, whether we shall be worthy of the divine life with which we have been endowed by the creative mind of the universe. When the inner life is creative, orderly, and growing, then our outer activities are fine and true. And that's from Raymond Charles Barker and Ernest Holmes. Should we try another one?
Yeah, go ahead. Watch out.
There's a guy cutting himself in half with a saw.
Says don't.
Okay. There isn't God in man, there is only God in man, and I am that man now.
Ooh.
That's the truth. That's a good, powerful one. It's funny, the word idiot probably is related to like just dwelling in the id, which I think is more like our subconscious programming. So that one said something about being an idiot. He got bumped on the head.
Look that up on the break.
I will. But so let's take a moment to thank the chief engineer, Jeff Comfort. He's out there in Kansas City, Kansas.
If you're listening to us, it's all Jeff Comfort's fault.
Yeah, if you're even watching us, we wouldn't probably still be doing this if it wasn't for Jeff Comfort, who saved us when Unity Online Radio closed. We love this guy because each week
he takes us
right into the comfort zone. Yeah. Coming up next, the great artist Krista, the love machine Machovina, gets us giving it up for success with today's reading. Go and meet your good. Thank you for listening and watching Funniest Thing with Daryl and Ed, live from middle school studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
All right. Krista can pop up now.
Yes. Are you going to go tinkle the night away?
Okay.
Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. Small break in the action while Daryl goes and tinkles.
Oh, okay. Are you going to tell the story of my nightmare?
You're going to tell it. Yeah, I love it because it's such a good Yeah. How are you, Krista? You good?
I'm good. I'm going to take my own break too. Be right back.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Well, it's just me, everyone, and I'm doing some research. Hope you're all having a fine day out there. God is good, regardless of circumstances. Mhm, mhm, mhm. What the heck? Let's see. Man, what a great week it's been. We have to just stay on the principle that God is always good, that there's only God, God is only good. And sometimes I know, in the face of different, whether it's something with your car, politics, doctor, sometimes it's easy for us to buy into this belief that the good part has left the building, but it never does because it's the only thing that's real. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yes, it is a set of uncoordinated instinctual needs, right? Yes, got it. Ego is like logic, organizing agent, mediates between the id's instinctual desires. Yep. All right. This is going to be fun when we get back on board. If you're just joining us, we're just about to start the second segment of Funniest Thing. I don't always do the funniest thing, but when I do, I drink cold brew with a giant ice cube. I hear Daryl returning. I'll be right back.
Where you going? Oh yeah, you don't want to get cooked. Is Krista happy?
Krista is happy.
I got a box of collage stuff for the zine people
Nice.
on the
Oh,
19th.
yeah. I'm excited. That'll be fun.
And you got the paper, right? The big.
Oh, I got all that. Not to worry.
Because we're gonna make them a little bigger, right?
Yeah. Well, definitely for that one participant for sure. Yeah, that'd be good.
Oh, I'll show them how to make small and big.
Yeah.
The small ones are good because there's not a lot of ground to cover, so you could you get a sense of accomplishment within the period we're working. You'll have a finished zine. And the larger one, we might let them, even if they don't do the larger, take one home and they could build a book when they're home. Yeah.
Love it. I'm excited.
Talking about your what's it called, workshop you're gonna do?
Yeah, on the 19th.
That's so cool. All right. All right, everyone. Shall we begin?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to Funniest Thing with Daryl and Ed. Today's show is called Move Over and Let God Take Over with the great artist, Krista Machovina. How are you, Krista?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back. Again, I'm feeling like the Alec Baldwin guest host of this show. I'm not sure who I'm competing with frequency of appearances, but I am honored to be back. Thank you,
man,
guys.
we're so glad you're here. And I was looking up id, and it does mean a set of uncoordinated instinctual needs.
What's the origin of idiot?
I was looking that up, but
it didn't.
It was. I don't think it's going deep enough because it's talking about like being a common man. They're talking about like the way people use it, but I believe it's based on that word id, and that's all. There's so much misunderstanding about psychology. It's so funny. I had a dream where I was like on this. It was really weird. I was at some big party in a pool, and then people were bumping into me walking, and they were telling me that they're filming this scene from Sigmund Freud's life, and they were saying how like his beliefs upset a lot of people, and it was like some scene where I don't know what, but it did wake me up. It's funny that we're talking about this because Freud talked about that id, ego, superego, this type of thing, but looked at through the lens of this divine science of spirituality, it changes everything, because the mistake of a lot of religion is to think that these desires are bad. It's not about that. It's about being connected. Because if we don't have desire, we do not have life. We do not have enthusiasm. We do not have zeal. And then if we look at animals and think, oh, they're just driven by this, then we think they're lesser. But it's not about that at all. It's about recognizing that we got to be as excited as our dog is. And then we combine it with these other elements of our consciousness that are unique to human beings. But it's not better or worse.
Right.
It's just understanding the place that all of it has without judgment. Because I'm telling you, if we don't have the enthusiasm, we'll never become like a child the way Jesus described. That we have to become like that child. Because when we're like children, I was thinking about this word, take over. I would let things take over. If I've got a new pair of roller skates, I'd get away from the adults and I'd go as fast as I could down the street. And I would just let that feeling of enthusiasm just take me over, And that's one thing that dawned on me when I was reading this title is we're talking about letting this joy take over. So this is a big deal. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know I did look up the origin of id. But Krista,
Yes.
Welcome to the show, and you've been listening. Do you want to share some thoughts?
Well, yeah, a couple of things. Actually, there was a reading that just showed up for me from an unusual source right before this. But I've been thinking a lot about like different religions, and I've always felt that there are commonalities to like religions per se, but that sometimes they got too involved in managing people, and that was just part of the culture. That a lot of times religions like to manage people, and that ultimately the truth of the spirituality behind them is that it is that joy, and that is what so many of them share in common, like love and kindness and joy. And I think sometimes it gets squished out. But I don't know. I love living this stuff, and I love seeing it work out. And I know that by turning to joy, by returning to love, you feel so much better and so much more powerful. I mean, anger is a very powerful feeling. It's very intense, and it can motivate you in many ways. But for me, a lot of times a position of anger is an unstable one. Like I can easily be kind of knocked off focus. And so I really like operating from that feeling, being centered and peaceful, and seeing it play out in my day-to-day life. I told you guys the story of my car situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that by shift, I'll tell that story for this because I think it applies. But can I first share this kind of unusual reading I found?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, New Thought Principles kind of came about, in the beginning, as like an offshoot of like metaphysics and Theosophists and all of those back in the day. Well, one of those things, like a book fell into my lap, like an unusual one by an Indian philosopher. And you'd think, like, what does this have to do with these principles? But I was reading it, and this is Krishnamurti, which I guess he's an early Theosophist, kind of that same, like, turn of the century, 1920s era, when a lot of these thoughts were coming about. And he writes, a Hindu will only recognize truth when it's presented to him through the medium of Hinduism. And so it is with the Christian and the Buddhist. But truth is never contained in any particular form or medium. Truth can only be understood with an unbiased mind capable of detachment and pure judgment. And then he goes on to talk about those who would understand truth, who would give of their heart and their mind to that truth, must first have grown in experience. Then experience will guide them, for experience gives intelligence, and intelligence is the accumulation of all experience. The web of life is spun out of common things, and the common things are experience. Learn from every event, from every activity in daily life, and assimilate the experience every moment of the day. And I just think about like all of these new thought practices, and that's the life is your life is your lab. And that just got me really excited, because the other day I had a car accident, and a younger me would have really freaked out. But again, I guess part of this is that experience. So basically what had happened is I thought my car was in park, and it was not. And it rolled across the street, and it hit a parked car. a substantial way. Like it really did some damage. But in that moment, I decided I would put into practice some of these principles that we talk about all the time. And it was, okay, this doesn't look good, but no one was injured. It's just a car. It's just stuff. What good can come of this? And so I decided not to run off into my day. I mean, the car was drivable. I did the footwork. Like you said, I called the insurance company, I set it up, and I decided I was going to stay at my house and work in my yard and handle it. And I started to feel really good. I started getting excited about what good is going to come of this. So the day goes on, and I finally see the woman whose car I hit come back. And at the same time, a truck parks in front of my house. And the guy gets out of this truck and starts talking to me. And I say to him, I'm like, wait a minute, I got to go tell this woman I hit her car. And he's like, oh, okay. So I go across the street. I'd left her a note and all that. And she's like, thank you. And she's like, I understand accidents happen. And honestly, I haven't seen her since. This is a couple weeks ago. So I go back and I realize the guy I'm talking to is a neighbor I'd met many years ago. And we don't, it's a big city, paths cross. We don't really see him. And so I looked at him and I said, hey, we were exchanging plants. I pulled out some aloe, and he's a landscaper, so he took the plants. I said, aren't you the guy that had the dog named Shiloh? And he looks at me and he says, yeah. He goes, why would you ask that? I said, oh, I just remember the name Shiloh because it's the town next door to where my parents live, and so it's an uncommon name, and I just haven't seen you in a long time, and I just want to make sure. And he goes, yeah. I said, coincidentally, he goes, this is the day my dog passed away quite a few years ago. He goes, so I'm really surprised you would say that.
Wow.
And he goes, and I said, I'm like, well, I guess I got to be the messenger for your dog. I think your dog says hi. So, I mean, that's a cool thing that happened. And was it for him? Was it for me? I don't know. But I just think that there's something wonderful that even though I had to take my car to the shop and it was handled easily and under grace in perfect ways, I got to have that unusual moment and to connect with this guy and remind him of his dog, and everything worked out okay. So I love living, trying to test these principles out in day-to-day life, because that's really all that matters, That's all we get. So those are the things that are bringing me up. And the position of love to me is a very powerful position.
Yes.
And you don't need to be someone who has any sort of religion to be that person. There's a couple people even in my art studio that a friend and I call the mystics, because, they just seem to have that joy and that knowing, and that's a powerful thing. Anyway, that was a lot. Sorry, that was a long story.
That was beautiful, man. I wanted to share for people who don't know, because I had to be refreshed, what is Theosophy?
Mm-hmm.
And it says I just looked up the definition, any of a number of philosophies maintaining that a knowledge of God may be achieved through spiritual ecstasy, direct intuition, or individual relations, especially the movement founded in 1875 as the Theosophical Society by Helen Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott. But I like this. I mean, those words are very in line with what Jesus taught, which is the kingdom of God is within you. You got to become like a child to experience it. That sounds like some spiritual ecstasy, direct intuition. And then I like the fact that you're using powerful, because I once heard the definition that the difference between power and force is that power, which is love. Mm-hmm. So when we're trying to use force, we're trying to direct individual forces in the universe, forces of that gravity, things that make things move, blah, blah, blah. But when we tap into love, which is the power, it directs all the forces for us. That's the difference, why we're powerful when we're in love, because all of a sudden that love starts, Daryl's and I always talk about, it directs and rearranges everything on our behalf, rather than us. We get to look really good and feel really good in the process. And then we get to look even better. And we're like, who knows how this happened? I just said a simple prayer, trusted it was going to work. And look what happened. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, and forcing never works. Daryl and I have been talking about this a lot, especially in the creative process. For me, if I'm coming at it like a hammer, I'm going to basically, like a hammer, put some holes in walls. And so it's better to be easy about it and to quote a Seinfeld episode, go out on a high note. Like when you leave something feeling good, to me, you can come back to it feeling good.
Yes.
If you leave it all grumpy, that's no good. You've got to rethink how it works. Cause I know I can't force my art. I know if I show up in the studio and just sit there, sometimes that's all I can do. And that's
a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I'm just being receptive to inspiration, like you talked about, and those divine ideas to kind of push it forward. At least, yeah, I'm just trying to use each of these circumstances as the lab. How can I implement all of these principles and see the benefits? Because if it doesn't, I don't know, if it doesn't benefit, if it doesn't hold true in day-to-day life, then how true is it, I suppose?
Yes, it's the difference between my old and most of how we perceive discipline and what it really means is two different things. The perception of most people, and it was for me, was discipline means making myself do what I think I ought to be doing. And that's insustainable. It's horrible.
The shoulds don't work. They build up should and shame, sound an awful lot alike.
Yeah, and should means to scold. That's the origin. Yeah. But discipline doesn't mean that at all. The word discipline is defined, you could look it up, to go in a good way. It's from the word disciple. I mean, you can't spell discipline at all without the entire word disciple. And I mean, another origin is to follow the loving leading, not to whip myself into doing.
No.
And it's incredible the results we get, but we tend to flop back to the idea, no, I got to get this done. It doesn't work. It just, it not only doesn't it work, then I'm not living my life. I'm just trying to get through my life. You think I'm just getting through this, but I know many people that did jobs their whole life that they never really loved, and they stuck it out because that's what you do, because then you get, my 401k, and then I'll start living. Well, it even can happen in a day. A day is a lifetime. And we forget, like if we make like our to-do list with the discipline of I got to get these things done, well, then all I'm doing is I'm not living. All I'm doing is I got to accomplish things and then I could live. And my subconscious mind now is building up this philosophy of I'm never going to get to live because I got to get through these things.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's funny because I looked up the word journey, journal have the same root.
Right.
It means diurnal. It's Latin. And a journal, the origin is a record of your prayers throughout the day. And a journey is, I don't have the exact definition. A journey is your day's experience. A day, not, whenever we hear journey, we think, oh, it's long travels or, no, it's basically saying the experience of living one day at a time is a journey with this attitude of joining in prayer. And we know prayers aren't just times when we say our prayers. We're praying all the time, with my attitude. Your attitude is your prayer. And an attitude, means, an easy definition is my mental approach to life. So your experience with the car accident, and that could have been, oh, this car, now I got to deal with this and I got to call these people and I can't believe I did that, blah, I'm horrible. How could I be so dumb? And you may have had those thoughts, but those thoughts didn't overwhelm you to the point of you stopped living. And actually, sometimes these incidents make me more alive and make me more engaged with my
Yes.
life and less vague about it, meaning
Mhm.
it helped me really engage, not because I was overly trying to engage. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. It helps me appreciate my experiences, my journey, my one day at a time experiences without, in a positive way, without being tainted by this is an interruption because
Mhm.
I'm disciplined and I had things that I wanted to
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
were fun or whatever. Now I'm meeting people, the tow truck drivers. I enjoyed it. Was like
Mhm.
I love these guys. I still see them in my mind
Yeah.
because by moving over and letting God take over and
Yes.
knowing that
Mhm.
God is love. So therefore, if I just snap out of this idea that, oh, this is a big interruption, why is this happening
Mhm.
to me in the negative, by going, no, I can't do that anymore.
No.
I'm going to move over. I'm going to jump on board with love. Then my mind starts shifting on its own because I'm
Mhm.
releasing those old limiting ideas. And I start, like Ed says, and you shared, I
Mhm.
start getting enthusiastic about it, which is
Yeah.
sounds crazy to most people and
Yeah.
would have sounded crazy to me and did
Yeah.
sound crazy to me when I first learned this. But I'll tell you what, even though it sounded crazy to me, I wanted it. I
Yeah.
wanted to learn how to live like this.
Yeah.
So we sometimes these situations occur not to get in the way of our lives,
Mhm.
but they can help us really appreciate everyone in our life
Mhm.
Yeah.
more. Like that experience with that dog, that would have never happened if your
Yeah.
car never got in the accident. You would have
Okay.
been out. You wouldn't have been out there to put up to give the intention to give a note. I mean, this
Yeah.
whole thing is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible when you
Well,
live life like this.
it is. I love the idea of, like, on multiple shows. I swear this comes up every time I'm on a show with you guys, is being that ambassador of love. And so
Mhm.
when circumstances show up that are on the outward appearances not good, um how you kind of go, well, okay, I'm being detoured here. I'm taking a hard right. Did not expect my day to go this way. Had a total other plan. But how it's pardon me, it's allowing things to unfold in ways that you didn't expect. And by getting rid of that rigidity, you're also allowing more opportunities and more potentials to come into your experience. At least that's what I'm getting most excited about.
Yeah.
When you're rigid, you kind of hold on to your agenda. This is my agenda. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this show in this gallery with this person. Da, 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 da. But then you've got blinders on to
Yeah.
other things coming at you. And so, even though this is a show about practical spirituality, I mean, if you let it infuse your life in this way, it's just, well, it's more fun,
Yeah.
frankly. It's more fun, and it helps
Yes.
you change your perspective a lot more easily. At least I was. And trust me, initially I was shaken. That's part of the reason why I stayed home to work in the yard, because your adrenaline gets up. And I'm like, oh my God, when you hear that crunch of your
Yeah.
car and you realize you did it somehow, it's an awful feeling.
Right.
But by at least doing what I needed to for my physical body, which was working in the yard, and doing what I needed to do for my emotional self, which was just taking it slowly. And then my spiritual self was able to kind of check in and go, you know what? There could be good that could come out of
Yeah.
this. If anything,
Yeah.
just knowing everything is okay and it's all going to work out, that's a good enough
Yes.
Wait, and didn't you say your car looks even better now with the new
Oh my
paint?
gosh. Yes. First of all, it was like white glove treatment. And, I don't want people to think I'm like super rich and I can just throw money at repairing my car. At that moment, I had the money to pay the deductible. I'm like, I got this. The car repair, my insurance was great and they set up the repair, and I had a rental car reimbursement, and they did the repairs in record time. I thought it would be gone 3 weeks. It was like gone 7 days or something, like
Wow.
9 days. And they detailed my car. So it came back cleaner than when I dropped it off. Because I had like
Amazing.
sap on it that wasn't coming off. So in other words, I show up in my car. Not only did they repair the trunk, which had to be replaced and repainted, but it was shinier than the day I bought it,
Yes.
and I'm looking at it and I almost didn't recognize it. So will my insurance go up? Probably, but does it matter right now? No. I mean, everything was resolved. Everyone is safe. But yeah, I had to work through that.
Well, you were transformed by the renewing of your mind, and now your car is reflecting it because you did the mental work, which it's really easy to write it off, but it really is the reason. I mean, it really is a major factor in having us experience this. And one of the things that I know that really, when we face something, one of the things that it really clears out for me is feeling of unworthiness of my own, like, life got you now. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, you did something wrong. And all of that, like, at the heart of all this is so much more limiting than I've ever realized. Like, when I do not realize that I am divinely loved, I don't have to earn it. I don't have to fight for it. I don't have to struggle for it. It doesn't matter what I've ever done. The good just wants to flow through, and it is mine. And then so when we face something that we think, those old voices come up, you're dumb for doing it, or you're going to get in trouble. It's like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I remember having an experience like that where I went off campus for a little while because I didn't have anything to do, and then I wasn't looking at my phone. And when I looked at my phone like an hour later, there was a text from the assistant principal saying, like, what's your location? So it was the perfect text for the old fearful voice to go like, you're not where you're supposed to be. And they're like, and it triggered the old stuff. But I was like, that's old thinking. That is not really what's going on. But I had only the faith of a mustard seed. And I just went into the result. I just kept saying as I drove, because I was going to go back anyway for the end of the day. And I was driving going, there's only God. There's only good. I am an expression of God. I am only good. And of course I got there, and it had nothing to do with her wondering where I am. No one ever knows where I am anyway. So it's so ridiculous. The things that get in the way sometimes of us moving forward are so ridiculous. Daryl, you had you woke up thinking something about your book, to anyone who's not in the situation, it would seem like absurd. What are you worried about? But it's those little things that if we can find a way just to have faith the size of a mustard seed and keep moving in an inspired way. Don't beat ourselves up. If there's never anything good that comes out. Raymond Charles Barker talks about this a lot. Like, anything that increases our guilt load is worthless. Yeah. Worthless, because there's nothing in the universe that's holding anything against us at any time. It's amazing.
Guilt has absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I think the greater ease and safety you feel in your day-to-day life allows you to step out on that intuition, which is just your connection to your higher power and source. Like, if you're feeling like small and wimpy, like, how are you going to follow any inspired nudges or actions? You're just like too constrained. So it all, like, building this muscle in this daily activities of seeing things work out okay and reminding yourselves, like I've been talking about, like, writing down all of these little seeming miracles, just to remind myself when I am feeling a little small, that your intuition is your connection to your higher power and your source and God and love. And when you can hear that, you can end up in some wonderful places.
Yes, I keep a backward calendar. I always, like, this morning, I put in all the miracles that occurred yesterday. And the calendar is very important for two things, because if we're not doing that, then our subconscious mind doesn't believe it's true.
Yes.
Right.
But if you do it, it actually makes you more hopeful when seemingly negative things occur. You don't seem to go down with the ship. Also, if you're having a day or two and you're thinking, I haven't been doing anything. I'm not doing anything. And then you look at your calendar and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? There's a lot that's been going on, but in this moment, I'm not aware of it. But once you look at the backward calendar, you'll see, holy cow, and then as you go back further, you go, this happened in the last 6 months, or you're like so full of, holy cow, I'm
Yeah.
living a life. Another thing
Yeah.
you brought up in this, what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
is that's why when you make a to-do list, I was taught this is God, this is my best attempt at what God's will is for me today. Because if I'm in that, these are the things that I'm telling myself I need to get done today. First of all, if it's that rigid, then I'm saying I'm forgetting that my life is meant to be lived, and somehow I'm brainwashing myself to think doing these chores isn't happening during my life, and I got to get through them. But that is my life.
Yeah.
To-do list is your life.
Yeah.
So if you're just plowing through and not not enjoying it, well, this is stop. You got to shift gears. But the thing about relaxing and realizing, no, this is just my best attempt at what God's will is for me today. This stuff does not all need to get done today. I may have to show up to a dental appointment,
Right.
but there's things I don't need to be so rigid. I'm going to let God, I'm going to move over and let God guide me, because once I get into that mood of this stuff is got to be done, then I'm cut off from God, like you said, and I don't have the freedom because I'm not aware of greater good that may be coming in to my life, new opportunities, because I'm so gung-ho and I got to get this stuff done today. I have so much to do.
Right.
Mumble, mumble, mumble. And another thing is, by starting the day, this is my best attempt at what God's will is for me today. When you're making your list in this way, you can't help but to see yourself going through your day. You can't, there's no way you're going to write down, go to say, even if it's I'm stopping at Ralph's today. There's no way you're writing down I'm stopping at, that's a grocery store here in California, in case you're listening elsewhere. There's no way your mind is not going to imagine instantly from your own experience in the past, you're already seeing yourself going to Ralph's today as you're writing it. So what's nice about that is I get to, as I'm doing my list, because I do it after I've done a morning routine of reading these books, I'm more apt to and more likely to see myself going through these things in a pleasant way, which does two things. One, it throws faith into my life ahead of me. And it also, in a delightful way, because now I'm not panicked and see that I'm going to go through a battle or thinking about traffic or this or that at that moment when I'm writing it down. But also, it allows me to release it too if it doesn't happen that day. If I don't get to Ralph's, or if they don't happen in the order I thought they occur. Because what this also does is you realize that this is not, the to-do list is not to get through till then I'll live life. No, think of the to-do list or your best attempt at God's will as, no, this is what I'm going to be engaging with life today with.
Yeah.
I'm going to be engaging with the people at Ralph's. I'm going to be engaged. It's like, and then you'll get inspired ideas too, joyful ideas as you're making the list. And here's the temptation to swat those away because now you're into that get these things done idea. If those joyful ones come up, well, then that means writing down these other things was just to unlock your subconscious mind for that intuitive idea to come up. And that joyful one should be the high priority one.
Yes.
Because those other ones were just, you were just getting those out of the way on paper for this one, this real guidance to come up. And I will guarantee you, if you make that one the priority, that joyful one, everything else that need to get done on that list will get done effortlessly, or you'll find out it didn't have to be done by you at all that day. It's incredible.
No question. I love, I think you've talked about this. The three of us have talked about how when you do the thing that seems the most fun first on the list, that primes the pump and it builds successes. And so like, if you like, sometimes there are things that we all have that very full list that we need to take care of. And maybe the first thing is, well, like I need to, I don't know. It doesn't even matter what's on the list. But when you do the most fun thing first, even though it might seem like a splurge, it puts you in a better state to move on to the next one. One success builds into another success. Or like you said, sometimes in the meantime, those things that you needed to handle get handled on their own, which is magic.
Yes.
I love it. I love seeing the magic of my everyday life lab.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you're out doing that stuff, the new ideas and inspiration, it can find you at Ralph's. It found me when I was at getting my filling fixed.
Yes, it will.
I was talking to my dentist, and she gave me a bunch of good stuff for the talks I ended up doing. I didn't know that she had a daughter with special needs, but I wrote them down. So God will find you wherever you go, because God is principle and God is always there. Mm-hmm. That's why I love just this reminder this morning. Fear really is false evidence appears real. If it didn't appear real, it would have no pull over us at all. But it appears real. Mm-hmm. And that just having these principles that I can just kind of softly restate to myself. That's why I was thinking about love only values everything. So if there's a part of me that's judging anyone or undervaluing especially myself, love will never do that. And it will transform my whole approach to everything. Because a lot of times I just realized my aversion of thinking about things in the past was really worrying. I'm going to take some time to worry about things. And I realized if I'm really thinking about things affirmatively, my body is loose. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic. The way I'm describing it is very different. And I was doing that yesterday. It made me realize the only thing I really want is to feel good while I'm doing everything I'm doing. And when I feel good doing everything I'm doing, God comes through in the most miraculous ways, because that feeling good just means I'm receptive to God reality, which is really the only reality. There can be a whole world of people who don't understand reality because they're being tricked by false evidence appearing real, but still doesn't make it real.
Right.
It takes one person, which is me, to see the reality. I mean, you're going to find out once I start seeing the reality that it's not a world of people that don't see it. Everyone else seems to start seeing it as soon as I do as well. So that is the beauty of living this way. Do you have the reading from Joyce Kramer that we sent you?
You know what? It's on the phone that I've had to use for the Zoom. I am so sorry.
I will read it. All right, no problem. This is the way these things go, and it always works out. Yeah. So the reading says, "The Spirit of the Lord goes before me, making easy and successful my way."
I didn't even know we were going to talk about appointments.
I know. And this is principle. This is not wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Thank you. You found the word I was looking for. The Spirit of the Lord, or the law, which is ever increasing good, which is the principle of wholeness and happiness and success. The Spirit of the law, the Lord, goes before me, making easy and successful my way. If you have an appointment today, fill your mind with this thought: I go to meet the good that God has prepared for me. That's principle. It's already there. You're just being a realist. I go to meet the good that God has prepared for me.
No matter what the appointment
wherever
is.
You're going. Knowing this, you'll be calm, you will understand and be understood, and you will act with wisdom. No matter what your appointment is about, put yourself at ease. Remind yourself that the very Spirit of God who is preparing the way is within you. There is no need for dread. Simply trust this Spirit of love, peace, power, and wisdom. Affirm God's presence. Because you got to remind yourself, your subconscious mind, that the presence of God is there, because it will forget, because most of us have been conditioned that way. Have confidence in God's activity, which means with faith. Act with faith in God's activity, that it's there. Where God is, there is no fear nor apprehension. And God is within your mind and heart. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. From Daryl's favorite book, Deuteronomy 31:8.
Well, and that's why I love that saying, You know, God is love, and wherever love is, so is God. Because that's why I get motivated to know if I just bring love, my focus is to bring love to regardless of the situation. Well, then all the power of God is now present in the situation
Yes.
Yes.
and working.
Yeah. I think so much about what is going on, especially in our country, and all the feelings. There's a lot of feelings going on right now, a lot based on fear, and there are many things that I can affect change in, and many things I can't. But the one thing I know I can affect change in is my own state of being and what I'm bringing to people. And if I can bring that love and just be present and bring some joy, I mean, that's the most healing I can be, really. I don't know. I think
I
that's
agree.
all
Well,
I can do.
if this stuff is principle, which I'm coming to stand on, then even if there's a part of me that wants those negative statements that are coming up or whatever to be true, if it's principle, it's principle.
Yeah.
So you got to be persistent and the more I go back to the principle instead of the subconscious fears that are not good for me or anyone else, the more I keep going back to principle, I'm so grateful that I do every time I do.
Yeah.
I would rather stay in principle that God is the only thing that's real is God, and God is only good, and that I am expression of the God, and so is everybody else. Love only values everyone.
Yeah.
That's love. And when we become that, like Daryl said, the full power of God is forever present, and there's nothing to ever worry about. There's nothing to ever worry about. That's why the movies where the good guys kind of win. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3 last night because one of my students like kind of told me to, or kind of loved it, and I wanted to kind of connect with him. And I did like the first two. This movie was an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
But underneath it was this message that only the good is real, and that the good is more powerful than any fear, no matter how insurmountable it seemed in the movie. Like the guy Star-Lord always is just like a child, loves it, comes with enthusiasm, and the love and the light ruled the day. And I cried during the movie, and I came away going, you know what I do with these kids matters. The way I show up in my life matters. That we're doing this show I don't know, it just brought such a joyful feeling that I choose to do things that matter in terms of, for one, they're fun for me. I love doing them, and they bring love to the planet, and that's what I like to do, man. It feels really good.
Well, this is a question I asked myself the other day. I put it on a postcard for Kirky.
Oh, nice.
I said, what are you tuning into?
Yep.
What are you tuning into?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I wrote on for myself, whatever I'm tuning into, I'm turning into.
Yes.
If I'm tuning into
Yes.
neighbors who are squawking for better or worse, I'm gonna turn into that.
Yes.
And if I don't direct my thinking, and that's what it means by the watchman at the gate, I'm the watchman at the gate of my mind.
Yeah.
And I got to be careful about what I am tuning into, because I am going to turn into that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start feeling a certain way, and it may not be the best way for me. So that I love. You also remind me of one other, when you were talking, and I can't remember what it was, one other little quote, but that one's been my lifesaver. Like, because I could catch myself easy. If you ask yourself, what am I tuning into? Because that's what you're turning into.
Yes.
I can't be hateful of a group or any person without myself turning into that.
Precisely.
I'm not immune. And
it's a mirror. Your own prejudices and your resentments of other people that you're judging them, they're like this. You have to kind of go, ooh, how are you being like that right now? It's a mirror.
Yeah,
So I don't want to turn into that. I want
Right.
to bring the joy, because it multiplies.
Yeah.
yes,
What
yes.
you're putting out there multiplies. Do I want to contribute to ugly feelings, or do I want to continue to support people and make them feel better, to make my environment better?
And the bottom line is, and some people may not like hearing this, if you get on, if you want to start a rally against something, whatever that is, you may forget that it's always done unto you
Mm-hmm.
as you believe. All of
Yeah.
us,
Yes.
that regardless, and I don't remember how we're talking about just a day. A life is a day. If we just live in that one day, which is the word journey is based on the word journal, which means watching your prayers throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what is my mental attitude on this day's journey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be done unto me throughout the day as I believe and as I'm praying throughout my day, which
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
my attitude, my mental approach. It
Mm-hmm.
really helps.
This goes with, I was teaching a student of mine, like, so he would get triggered by a kid doing something. He'd get set off by another kid doing something that he shouldn't be doing. So I had two little whiteboards, and I drew the kid, and I let the guy I was working with call the other kid whatever he wanted. I said, I don't care. He called him some funny name that he made up, kind of making fun of him. I just said, okay, we're gonna call him that. And I showed him, this kid's doing this, and here you are. You don't like what they're doing. But if you think it's your job to teach them a lesson, now you get in trouble because you do something that you shouldn't be doing. Yelling at him, calling him names. But then I drew an arrow over to this other whiteboard, which was like a clear white space. What if you look at that and go, that's not for me? What do I want to do? And go do that instead. And it was
Yes.
such a clear visual because
Yes.
it happens every time, and that's why I love principle. If I get into the judgment and the feel badness of trying to be, and what I told him is, it's not your job to teach them a lesson.
Yeah.
If I get out of that role, because then I can say, my intuition told me the other day, yes, they're doing all of that, but what are you going to do? Yes, let yourself, it's fine. Yes, they're doing all that stuff, but still, the question is, who are you going to be and what are you going to do? Because there's always going to be a million people doing a million things, and you're not going to agree with any of it or all of it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to affect how we go about our business. And if we can just stay in that, that is freedom, and it's also power, and it's also the only thing that's going to matter when we leave this planet.
It's our life.
What do we do with
It
our
is.
time?
That's
Yeah.
my life.
That's our
Why
life.
do I want my day, moment, journey?
Yes.
I forget this. We forget it. We take it for granted. So this show's been a good reminder
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
It
But
really
moving
is.
on-
And your
Go ahead.
life not only is your own lab, but that is your message and what you're teaching. Like, I think about the people in my life that I have learned the most from, or that I admire, like the Mike Dugans of the world. Even though I didn't get to ever meet him, I've learned about him through you. Or I think about my early art teacher, June Kelly, who, taught in that tiny one-room art schoolhouse. But it's how they live. They're not telling me, you need to live your life this way. You need to do this. It's not that. They're living by example. And that example is usually a loving, accepting, supportive presence.
Yeah.
And that's, personally, who I learned from best. So I guess, yeah, that's what I'm aspiring to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're
Yeah,
gonna tell
Daryl
this
turned
story.
the phrase, let him have it on its head. Because some
Mhm.
people, we've talked about this on the show, but at the end of the day, just let him have it. Everyone has a right to experience the life they want to lead.
Yes.
So let them have it and
Yeah.
just go about, we're on a mission here. I like, if anything, all this, the things that have gone on lately, it just reminded me. I know I'm choosing to live the way I choose to live because I have found what works for me and what is true for me. And
Mhm.
it doesn't go away based on these external circumstances. It never goes away.
Yeah.
And I am so glad that I am who I am. So,
Yes. By letting them have it, you're really letting them have it.
yeah.
But if I
Sure.
get
Figure it
involved,
out.
then I'm letting me have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And by letting them have it, we're doing what God does too.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
doesn't rip these things from us. God lets us have
He
it,
goes, "Yeah,
lets
let
us
him
have
have
this experience.
Yeah.
Because really all it's doing is leading us to realize that we are love. And love only values everyone and everything because it's all in reality an expression of that love, whether it is aware of it or not. All
Quick
right.
summary.
artists. Oh, by the way, in this show description, both on YouTube and the podcast, you can find artist Krista Machovina's website.
I'll also put
KristaMachovina.com.
a transcendent prayer in there.
Oh, yeah, we'll get the transcendent prayer. We can bring that out next week. I think we might have McClure next week.
Yeah, McClure.
Yeah, I love whatever I'm tuning into, I'm turning into.
Whatever, yeah. What are you tuning into?
You could start, that could be the title. What are you tuning into?
Because that's what you're turning into. Okay.
That could be the first line of the description. All right, so we found this little story here that recently artist Krista Machovina, who's been doing quite well.
And doing a lot of projects.
Yeah, she was commissioned to paint a mural on the side of someone's large home. They flew Krista all the way to Kansas City, gave her a place to stay for a week, and offered an impressive sum of money. When Krista was done, the family was ecstatic as they all stood together in the yard, admiring the massive mural. It took up one whole side of their beautiful home. When they looked at the bill, they were confused.
Krista, you forgot to charge us for the paint.
Krista smiled.
Don't worry about the paint. It's on the house.
On the house.
So it took me a minute.
It's on the house. Na 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 na.
I'm alive, and I see things mighty clear today. I'm alive. I'm a man.
I'm a man, and I'm breathing fresh, clear. I don't remember.
Wait, that word goes. I'm a man.
Oh yeah, okay, let's try.
And I'm breathing clear, fresh air today. I'm alive.
Go ahead.
Hush. Oh, visit darylnet.com to find easy links to everything we do. Thanks for being a part of Funniest Thing. Hush, hush. Thought I heard God calling my name. Now hush, hush. Life broke my heart, but I'm loving just the same now. I'm alive.
Who cares if my hair is a little bit long? I'm alive. I'm alive. And I'm doing my thing and singing my song. I'm alive. Melissa from Texas, thank you for saying good message. We love you. Everyone else, have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you later.
You got it.